see him taking that long.
I
I
mean,
don't mind being kicked out suddenly. We
He's
can wait
walking
20
out
minutes
of
or
frame
do
right
the
now.
other.
we don't have
know.
we don't have a hard start time for another half hour. Obviously, if he can start anytime before that, we will.
Mhm.
But I'm sure he's gonna want to, like, I don't know, grab
guess
also
if
his own bowl of cereal or something.
he's probably not, he's really terrible at it. But if any,
Okay, all right.
if a couple of y'all really want to like rush out why you're here that haven't gotten to yet, we can do that.
Okay.
Oh.
I mean, I was gonna.
I wouldn't
Oh,
try
sorry.
adding anybody, but I'm just saying, don't leave the channel dead for the next 20
Oh no,
minutes.
I would still be sitting in here talking and whatnot because I'm gonna like debrief Ollie and joke a little bit and then dip myself and go to fucking bed.
Okay, sounds good. I do have to pop out to make sure that everything's ready for Titus.
Can't
Have
wait.
a good night.
Nice meeting you.
Thank you, Crystal.
I can talk a little bit about my, I don't know, like, journey sounds weird, but like, yeah, I've had depression for probably at least my adolescence. I mean, I started on and off seeing a therapist when I was probably like 10. I luckily haven't had nearly as many complications as like Izzy or anybody else that was talking about in chat. But there was still a lot of like lonely elements. So yeah, I have a nice good mix of anxiety and depression, as well as ADHD. I'm a queer woman whose partner just started transitioning the last almost 2 years ago. And in this climate, in the year 2019, as you can figure out, our lives are very stressful. And also figuring out that I'm also a non-binary woman, and the imposter syndrome that goes along with feeling like you're non-binary but being okay with she/her pronouns is a whole other level. I've also, luckily, I have been able to see a therapist for the last 2 years consistently. I was really bad about going on and off of therapy, and I'm on medication now, and it's been way easier now that I've been good about being consistent with my medication. Sorry.
Okay. I'm gonna jump in and say, like, because the specific part you said is something I hear often, so I always feel the need to respond to it when I hear it, and that's nothing as bad as X in this case, as in me, but that's just like immediately false. So the way that I like to approach mental health and talk with people, because I do this for a living, the way that I like to talk to people and focus on this is actually really simple. So the hardest thing you've ever had to go through in your life was just as hard for you as the hardest thing I ever had to go through in my life was for me. There is no like greater pain or greater suffering. It's not comparable. The way that we look at trauma and the way that we look at impact is massively affected by the way we look at society and our expectations of people.
And you know, I know that, like, that's the thing. I feel like everybody feels this way, but it's like, I could tell someone else that. In fact, during Pride this year, there was someone who I'm acquaintance with who asked my advice and said, well, I'm demi, and I don't know if I should go to Pride because I'm not, like, queer enough. And I had to do the queer aunt thing of going like, no, you are valid. You are just as you should be there. And then she ended up going and like finding another ace person, and they had like an amazing time. And I was like, well, I'm really glad you did. But yeah, like, it's one of those things where I know that I'm valid, but also it's really hard for me to think that in the moment.
Also, I'm realizing that I totally just told everyone why my obsession with bears exists, and now everyone has that forever in the internet. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. Have like all of you seen my tier 1 sub emote, like what my original sub emote is?
No.
Nope.
Look at chat.
Aw.
Does anybody want to guess what color Bear was?
Big old brown. Probably brown.
Yeah.
Brown
So my
bear.
story is written all through my channel. It's in my username. It's in the numbers behind my username. In my emotes, it's symbolism.
But yeah, and one of the things I really loved about getting to work on the Cardboard Kingdom is I didn't explain just how weird and bizarre that project was. It's 11 different people, including the artists who drew everything working on all the stories for a bunch of kids in the same neighborhood. So my main character, Sophie, is a little girl who's really loud and is told by her grandmother to be quiet and behave because nice girls are quiet. And so I ended up pulling a lot of my own anxieties, especially as a kid, but also as an adult, into that character. And the beautiful thing about the book is that almost all my co-creators are queer in some way or form, and they all pulled from different elements of their childhood, including Barbara Perez Marquez, who is one of my co-writers, had an amazing story where her character, like her, came from the Dominican Republic and used her father's folk tales to create a character that she played as. And it's one of those things where I've been really fortunate to be able to use comics to talk about the things that I've been thinking of, and especially that book in particular. That's been really, really, really close to my heart in terms of exploring my mental health and my past and everything. So yeah.
That's incredible. It sounds like you've been through as much as every other queer person out there, but that's still a lot. And I know how hard it is to turn that positive voice inward, like how you were talking about your friend and how you encouraged them to go to Pride and that they were valid. It's a difficult exercise, but it really is important for everyone to try to take that positive energy they have for others and turn it inward and remind yourself that you're valid too.
So I'm also gonna chime in here with like a positivity uplift, because I see some people in chat saying they miss being happy, and I see a lot of positivity and love for Bear, and that's awesome. I love you all. Um, just to let you all know, like, I'm 30 years old. This happened when I was 9. I did not speak about it out loud until this year. And the reason I did, and the reason I started actually finally telling this story, is because it was one of the testimonies given in my state that led to the ban on conversion therapy.
Oh yeah.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
Yay. I'm quite
So,
lucky to
like,
live in
all of these things that happen to you, that shaped you, that make all of these things so hard in your life, you can learn to use them. You can turn that around. You can remember what it was like for you and use that to be a better person so that doesn't happen to someone else.
Oh, absolutely.
That's amazing, Izzy. That must have been so hard to tell that story in the court.
Oh god, yeah, I had like a breakdown the next day and just kind of like hid in my room, and I didn't actually go and say it in person. I couldn't do it because, like I said, I went 21 years without speaking about it. I couldn't go and actually do it. I wrote the testimony and someone else volunteered to read it for me.
Oh, still, Christ, that must have been hard. God, I'm pretty lucky. I live in a state where conversion therapy hasn't been legal for like more than 30 years or something. So I got sent out of state, which is legal. You can just send your kids to one state over. It's fine.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, it was great. I'll never forget my rabbi showing up to collect me. And this is hilarious. So the place they did it was this beat up old church. It was not very nice. And apparently, when I had been gone for 2 months, my rabbi asked my mom where I was, and when she told him, he was like, "Brenda, we don't do that." And this, no. And so he convinced her to sign the paperwork, and he came and got me. But I'm sitting there and waiting my turn to go through the therapy thing, and I just hear the doors burst open, and then "Pretty fly for a rabbi" in the distance. And it gets louder, and I look over my shoulder, and there's my fucking rabbi with the boombox blasting that song, and he rolls down the aisle in Heelys. Just, it was so great. But also,
I will say the Jewish community is one of the most interesting ones I'm learning to work with now as a nonprofit for trans. But as a representative for a trans nonprofit, I have to do a lot of work with religious groups that I really wasn't comfortable with for the longest time. And I think the one that donates the most to us is definitely the local Jewish temples. And they have a lot of lesbian leadership specifically. It's really hard for me to let go of this bias. Like, I still have an issue with it. I'm still uncomfortable in religious spaces, but
oh sure.
there's at least some groups of religions out there trying really hard to undo that damage for a lot of people.
Yeah,
It
I'm
depends
lucky.
on the branch, just like Christianity. I grew up Reform, and that's kind of what I blame on my leftism because my parents were highly racist. They're Jewish, but deeply bigoted and racist and very far right. And so they'd say these horrible racist things, and then I'd go to worship on Saturdays, and the rabbi would be like, "All right, as white people, we have privilege, and this is how we can use our privilege to help people who need it." Just kind of mixed signals coming in all the time.
Shout out to the rabbi.
That's
What
Reform. They're pretty cool.
one of my really good best friends is a gay man who is also Jewish, and he it's very interesting. Obviously, like you said, there are different sects that are very very conservative, but it is really good to see how much the communities that embrace queer people are really good at like going all in to the point where there are queer Jewish, congregation members who feel 100% at home. And yeah.
Okay, I love you all, and it has been a pleasure. But Dad is definitely coming back, and I know at least one of you wants to jump down to waiting to be cast and try to get yourself a role. So,
Oh, look, he's
Thanks
eating
for having
food.
me.
Yeah, thanks
Yes.
for having us on, guys.
Thank you
Uh,
for
Thank you
having
so
us
much for having
on.
us. This was fun.
it has been a pleasure, and we love you all. Chat loves you.
Trans rights, everyone.
Trans
Yeah,
rights,
right.
everyone.
Trans rights.
Haunted Doll says
Mwah.
trans rights.
Like
Oh,
this trans rights, Scoob. And now I leave.
yes. An artist who can't do a voice also says trans rights. Bye, everyone.
I'm trying
Fare
to
thee
leave.
well.
I'm bad at this other.
All right, chat. It's just me now. I've got you all to myself while Ollie still sleeps. He's laughing at something. Look at that. Look at that. Nomming that toast. I don't even see any jam on that. What an insult. What just blatant disrespect. Who eats dry toast? A monster. That's who. Remember the rule. If I made you cry, you have to donate. That's the way it works. The Ollie just looks like an absolute sociopath right now. Still has dry toast in his mouth. That's just it's unfathomable, honestly. Oh, there's definitely some audio happening now. You think he's checking voicemail? Is it voicemail or a video? What do we think? Voicemail, yeah. He's watching the entirety of Nat's new vid. That sounds about right. He's listening to Twitch clips, finding out what we got up to. Oh, he's here, everybody. He's here. Everybody behave. Everybody behave. Hide the memes. Hide the memes. Hide your spouses.
Don't hide the memes. I came here for the memes. Friends, Romans, countrymen, I come not to praise Caesar. I came for the memes.
Killed it. Yeah, Skeleton Crew went amazing again. We had feels talks, we had joke talks, we had memes. There are always memes. There was also a lot of definite kink talk that you're too innocent for, Ollie. We just can't introduce you to that, okay?
Yeah, yeah, sure. Hey, look, I was in All's Well That Ends Well. I've heard of sex.
I've heard of sex. He has lived, chat. He has lived. But no, good luck on the upcoming shows. I'm sure I'll be back in another play or two. I'm gonna go. You can hear it in the back of my throat. I'm gonna go tap out for the night.
Have a sleepy.
Oh yeah, definitely. But good morning to you and break a leg. Have fun, chat. I love you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to Izzy and the Skeleton Crew. Yarr. So today we have, first of all, whoa, we have Titus Andronicus, and then what do we have after that? 12th night. Okay. Next. How do you spell 12? 12. That'll do. 12th night. Alright. What are we at? 877743. That's the first thing. Generosity, obviously. Alright. Welcome along, everybody. Oh, I'm excited for Titus Andronicus because it's a fun one. It's just like, it's loaded. It's like, there's also one amazing scene in it which we can joke about when we get there. But like, yeah, it's really fun. It's just like gory and vicious and there's just like violence and it's just like really crowd pleasing. So, if you've just joined us, welcome. Oh no, I did. Oh, hang on a minute. All right, hang on. 87743. Thank you. There it is. We have not raised 877,000. There it is. Thank you, chat. It is very early with me. So, if you've just joined us, no, that's right. That's right. Yeah, and that's right. Yeah, it is. Okay. Good morning. Hello, if you've just joined us. If you've just joined us, I'm Philosophy Thorn, and this is Oliver Tube. I'm Ollie Thorn, and I run a channel called Philosophy Tube. For charity, we are live streaming the complete works of Shakespeare, more or less 24/7, until tomorrow night. So yeah, it's all in aid of the Samaritans, who are a mental health charity who help people in emotional distress. Most famously through their suicide hotline, which saved my life over a year ago, and but they help people in all kinds of emotional distress. And they've been in touch. They're extremely grateful for the $87,743 dues that we have, in fact, raised for them, which is amazing. So, without further ado, because we did that one first, it's a little Shakespeare joke for all you Shakespeare fans out there. Without further ado, let's warm up our emotional selves and our voices with the lamentable tragedy of Titus Andronicus.
Hey, Ollie.
Hello. A voice.
It is
Hark.
Crystal.
Hi, Crystal.
Bonjour. I've got Dan here for you, but I did want to remind you, I don't think it was done before you went to sleep, to do a refresh on the stream for archival purposes.
Excellent plan.
And also, while you're doing that, a refresh on Discord.
Good thinking. Okay, so what you will see, audience, is you'll see the stream stop, and then a few minutes, and then start again, just so we can. It stops the gremlins from getting in Discord. It's the Discord gets full of what internet fluff, and then it stops the bandwidth getting through the pipes. So you've got to go in. I've got to go in a small chimney and clean it out, and move circuit boards around in coloured lighting. So we'll do that for a few minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll start ancient Roman violence. It'll be great. Okay, back in minutes.